Hello, Garland Nixon here, hanging out with Andrei Martyanov, and uh, we're going to talk about a number of things. But a lot of people are wondering about Russian potential retaliation. Has it already happened? Is something else going to happen? Is it going to be upgraded from a special military operation? Let's talk to Andrei, see what he thinks. Let's talk. Hello, Garland Nixon here, hanging out with Andrei, and we got plenty to talk about. First of all, before we go any further, make sure you follow Andrei and all of his online exploits, shall we say, reminiscence of the future. It's his great blog, and of course, Smoothie X12. That's his YouTube page and his YouTube show, one of my favorite shows, and he always has great stuff. He presents a lot of articles and evidence and data and just a lot of fun stuff. So I think you'll enjoy it, and I think you'll learn a lot, as do I. Andrei Martyanov. Andrei, welcome back.
Oh, my pleasure. Anytime,
Not a problem. Not a problem. Wonderful. Glad to have you. All right, let's get started. So let's start here, and I'm just going to throw this at you and get your thoughts. Number one, what we're hearing is that this question. The Russian military has launched a number of new strikes. They seem to really picked up the pace of strikes, hitting a lot of targets. And here's the question I'm hearing. Is this the retaliation? Is this they're picking up the pace? Is this normal? What does it seem like to you? Does it seem to you like that they have there's a number of new strikes? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, they increase operational tempo, which is absolutely natural. And it's not only done for the reasons of retaliation, which today probably was discussed at what is called extended meeting of the Security Council. But most of these meetings, allegedly about values of Russian, people and traditional values, have been held behind closed doors. Okay, sure, yeah. After that, they were very, very kind of, well, let's put it this way, not very forthcoming about what has been discussed there. So we assume that there will be some kind of the 1-2 time action, but increase in operational tempo is essentially inevitable when you look at the overall picture, and the whole front now is on the move, and so yeah, we can expect this increased operational tempo and moving towards the basically the left bank of Dnieper.
One of the things that I thought was when the West, when MI6 and their friends pull these little shenanigans, the real influence, I think, possibly is how the Russian government sees the end of this thing. They'll talk at first. They were, because we went from, well, we'll sit down in Istanbul and we'll make a deal, to we're going to have what they say, cordon sanitaire, a clean zone, shall we say, and I think it's getting more to the point of we're going to smash everything in our way and go all the way up to Transnistria and take everything we want, and whatever is left will be left.
Well, I mean, Sergei Lavrov yesterday at the forum, Future Forum 2050, he was pretty unequivocal, so that, yeah, everything what is happening on the ground will be put into a proper judicial framework, which means what the euphemism for, we'll just take all of it, and it will become not initially probably part of Russia, but it becomes some kind of the autonomous or whatever, republics or what have you, and that's it. And I think that's pretty much, speaks for itself, not to mention the fact that Mr. Lavrov, this is Mr. Lavrov, I point out to you, this is not Liz Truss or Stalin. When this guy speaks, the world listens. He was very openly that, yeah, behind all that, well, yeah, United States, but it is definitely MI6. It's a terrorist organization, and London is the capital of the terrorist state. And this is what is happening. So, I mean, Russians again give Trump a little bit of the pass, but it's over anyhow, because essentially it was already stated that, yeah, we're sure we're open for any kind of negotiations, as long as they fulfill our conditions. Other than that, that's negotiations. Take it or leave it. So Trump is absolutely irrelevant here, and it is up to him and his administration, which, oh my gosh, it's a complete mess, to do something about. He failed to extricate United States, so United States is now the party. We know that it has been party from the get-go, but now they apart from the fact that U.S. Army smeared itself, stained its reputation with atrocities, supporting atrocities. Ukrainian army and NATO force, essentially, they shoot primarily at Russian civilians. As already have been stated, that the whole village of Ruskaya Porечная have been killed. It was murdered in cold blood, all of them, all civilians, men, women, children, lined up, executed. Some of them just thrown under the, well, that's Western democracy. And how do you think, what is there? Larry today already pointed out, you probably read, if not, you should read, he spoke to General Buzinski. And while obviously attack on the bombers as in of itself is very dangerous precedent, it is the fact that they can continue to do their sheer terrorism, just basically, blowing passenger trains off the rails, assassinating people. Alex Ovechkin today is now has the hit on him in the Mirotvorets site. So, and that's, well, I know, I beginning to arrive to the conclusion that at some point of time, London has to be, kind of, some stones rearranged there, because this is the terrorist state, essentially. And they have been always like that, the genocidal maniacs, which are produced primarily in all those schools, well, you can call them the privileged schools, but essentially, produce their brainwashed genocidal animals. Essentially, that's who they are, from their press. And George Galloway, I loved how 2 weeks ago he essentially wiped the floor with Piers Morgan when he said, "You are a war criminal." Yeah, they're, well, London, it's Downing, from 10 Downing Street to whatever the quarters, and MI6, the war criminals. They don't know. They cannot fight. They're cowards. So, and that's what we have. Now, it's up to Trump now to decide how he wants to completely humiliate himself, because United States can do nothing about anything. So, and yeah, the operational tempo increases. And now we have the situation when most likely Mr. Zelensky, Mr. Budanov, all the security detail of those SAS guys, yeah, we are the best in the world. Movies tell us, that James Bond obviously was the best agent there ever was. So they will be killed. So, and yeah, I don't know any special forces or super agent who can withstand, something like 3M14 when it flies into his window, let alone if you have Oreshnik or Kinjal flying. And Russians know where they are. And that's what Lavrov told yesterday, actually, that, yeah, we don't know how Trump is informed about it, but all those places in Kiev are packed with the CIA, MI6, and other special forces. So that's basically warning. If not, they will be killed. So then the United States and Britain will have to come up with very many plausible stories about some helicopter falling from the sky somewhere, something like that, or sudden, heart attack of the 32-year, guy. And so there will be more stars on the walls in Langley, and, so, and they wanted it. So, and as I already stated, they're cowards. They are really good only at hiding behind somebody's backs. And they are not normal in human terms people, because they support Nazis. Simple as that. West finally revealed its real face. There you go.
Well, what's interesting is here's something I want to ask you about Germany. So Germany now said, Russia's our number one enemy, blah, blah, blah. Well, now that's a shock. But what's interesting is, and Germany said, we've got to prepare for war with Russia.
Yeah.
For Russia. So I read the article, what they're doing. They're building bomb shelters. And I thought to myself, well, I guess they got to do something. Let's face it. They don't have the industry to build tanks and guns and shells and all things like that. They don't have the money to do that. They don't have the soldiers to put together, a brigade of tank men. And if they do, they wouldn't have tanks or artillery for them. They can't do anything. They want to show that they're preparing for war. So I guess really the only thing they could do is build bunkers to pretend like they're getting
Russians, if God forbids it comes to this, which I think that's the whole point of Russia doing things the way she does it. It's not going to be against civilian targets. Russians do not fight civilians, unlike NATO. They are really good only at killing, Afghan, weddings, killing people who retreat, and ready to surrender. But it will be, obviously, everybody knows where those bunkers are. Russia has a very decent, second best actually, after the United States, constellation and recon capabilities, which can actually track the personal cars. And so, yeah, it's not difficult. And again, if they want to experience Oreshnik, sure. And it's, again, Oreshnik is not the only thing. There are other things which are coming up. We have to know, and we probably will be also kind of demonstrated the capabilities, but no bunker is safe, So in the end, what you can do, you can simply seal it off, and they will die there. Nobody will be able to dig them out of there. So it's all have been planned and replayed many times. This is absolutely not a secret. So, and for those people who think that there are some billionaire like imbecile like this Zuckerberg or Musk Russians will take Musk and give him political asylum and then probably gonna parade him in the circus like the greatest fraud in the world. But I mean, if they think that they can get to New Zealand or Patagonia, I have news for them. Russians have weapon systems. They have their excellent submarine fleet with the global reach, which will come in, and then that will be it. Again, Russians have a very good constellation there, so they can see who, how, where. It's combination of the signal intelligence, optronics. It's a combination of the human intelligence. So yeah, they can run. They will not be able to hide. They will be killed. So simple as that. If they do continue to do what they're doing.
Let me ask you this, and that is, everyone talks about, what would be the Russia's Western Front, but the Eastern European border there, right? And there's a big focus on that. But meanwhile, the U.S. has always been up to no good in the Pacific region, feeling that they should be the dominant power everywhere on Earth, of course, the Arctic, the Pacific, the Atlantic, everywhere. And as the implication was, that's kind of Russia's backdoor, that Russia's a weak spot. What does Russia's Pacific region, military power, naval power, etc., look like?
Yesterday, or rather today, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Mr. Kane, in his presentation to the Appropriation Committee, he stated, and people say, oh yeah, he wants more money. Of course he wants more money, but he has to at least come up with the plausible thing. But I already made the video today about, first there is a Far Eastern Military District, which essentially is, to put into perspective, it's a army group. And the issue here is that it's undeniable, and I've been on it for several years. Pacific Fleet grows by leaps and bounds. And when you look at actually not only the strategic component, which are the 5 state-of-the-art Barrier class submarines, Barrier and Barrier M, but it is also Yasin class, Project 885, already 3 of them there. Then they have 6 brand new diesel electric submarines. And then they have already legacy but updated things. And of course, they have this nasty, horrible thing, which is called Belgorod. It is the Oscar II submarine, which was completely redesigned. It literally was gutted. And it is designed to carry all kinds of weird stuff. from Poseidon, so-called torpedo. It's a robot. It just has the, it's a huge torpedo, by the way, which can carry the warhead up to several megatons, okay? But it can also be used it can carry 6 of them, and it can carry all kinds of other things. And there's no defense against this on the United States. And that's why, listen, I have a vested interest. I live in Seattle, okay, near Seattle. I have a vested interest not to basically, wake up one morning and see the, 300 feet, what's the name of it? Tsunami, which will be created by explosion going towards me. I am by no means young, but I still have some gas in me. I want to live out my days in peace. So that's why I'm fighting for peace, But they have to understand the reality of this. And there are second one of this coming. And so when you look also on the surface ships, it's fully zirconized, if you wish, the fleet, which is very powerful, and it continues to actually receive the new ships. And now that Vladimir Putin signed yesterday the new document of which is called Russian Navy 2050 program, essentially, it's I'm waiting anxiously, to get the hands on it. Some of it will be probably classified, but I'm waiting for the public release of this document. We know it has been signed, and they want to, which is quite doable, to create the best navy in the world, and by 2050 there will be no peer. And again, in terms of the striking power, many people do not understand that when you take, for example, Yasin class submarine or Virginia class submarine, Virginia doesn't even reach the capability of the strikes, which are actually essentially embedded in the type of submarine such as the Yasin class. They are carriers of hypersonic weapons, they're carriers of the anti-shipping supersonic avionics, and they are carriers of the 3M14 with the range of 2,500 kilometers, which is the land attack. And now, the next hull, whatever the name of, I don't remember from the top of my head, it already will be carrying 3M14M with a range of 4,500 kilometers. So when you look at that, it's just like, yeah, sure, try to find it anywhere, especially considering the fact they are one of the quietest subs in the world, if not the quietest. So there's a lot of things going on there with the Pacific Fleet, not to mention the fact that obviously there is all kinds of other movements are being basically made there, not least of which many people do not understand. If they go to their maps on Google and zoom in, I don't think it is updated, but if they zoom in on Большой Камень, which literally means big stone, shipbuilding yard, it's colossal. It's a gigantic. And Russians building there all kinds of the gas, liquid gas carriers, tankers, and they build now this monster of the nuclear icebreaker leader class, which is 75,000 tons. And this thing will just basically just plow through any kind of ice. And then, of course, you will see yourself that, yeah, it's going to be also engaged, as it was already before, in all kinds of the upgrades, updates, and building of the combat ships. And what can I say? I mean, that's one of those things which many people kind of, goes under the radar. And then suddenly you look at this like, oh my God, this is huge, And this is one of the strategic factors, including that they started to sabotage the steel from high quality steel for tankers from South Korea. Well, what Russians do, as they always do, they build a new metallurgical plant. So it should be online next year. So, I mean, what are you going to do? You have to, so, and Russians were doing this, and now we can say that it's going to be nothing like the U.S. Navy. It's already, in terms of strike capabilities, it's just, and whatever will be coming soon, we can only guess, but I'm waiting anxiously for this document to be released, honestly.
One of the things I think that is important to consider, and that is if I talk about a Virginia-class submarine or Arleigh Burke cruiser or things of that nature, right? It's kind of like, for those who know firearms, it's like a firearm. Okay, this is a gun. but what kind of round does it have in it, right? How many grains of of powder does it have? Oh, gunpowder, oh, blah blah blah. What is the makeup? Is it a hollow point? Is it a metal tip? All of the firearm is just a firearm. It depends on what the hell is it. Snake shot? It's little beads, right? What do you have in it? A Arleigh Burke cruiser or whatever.
It's a destroyer.
It's a platform, right? Yeah, it's a platform.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the question becomes, what kind of missiles does it have on it? What kind of weapons does it carry? That you could have the far better ship without decent projectiles to fire, without a decent attack weapons, and an old beat up ship with better attack weapons. So what are the comparisons of what the U.S. is firing on its various platforms as opposed to what Russia's firing on their platforms?
The only thing which is the strike package on both Ticonderoga class cruisers and Arleigh Burke class cruisers, all flights, flight 1, 2, 3 now, they try to increase number of the cells there, vertical MK41 vertical launch system. Now, the only thing they can load there is, what for people to understand, they can load there either Tomahawk, because this is the only thing they can carry. They carry anti-shipping missiles, which are placed separately. Usually on the stern, it's the cross each other 8 containers with the harpoon, which is an obsolete missile. It's a good missile. It was good at some point of time, but it's slow, it's subsonic, and you have only 8. And they have, obviously, they load most of the time. It's about 50-50 out of those 96 cells. They place roughly, it obviously changes, and I'm not privy to exact proportions, but it is, so 48 air defense missiles and 48 strike package like TLAM, which is the Tomahawk land attack missile. The problem has been demonstrated manifestly and with humiliation, actually, of the U.S. air defense technology. It's not good, let's put it this way. Oh, of course, there's a lot of talk about SM-6, for example. SM-6, yeah, it's supersonic Mach 3.5 air defense missile, which can operate and shoot and forget. It has the active homing device, essentially a radar. It needs to, and has a range of like 260 kilometers or something like that. It is respectable when you decide to fight the war, such as the Midway or Coral Sea, from 1942. It's excellent. The problem is that you never shoot a single missile at that. Latest versions of Onyx P-800, which Russian ships carry, they have a range of 1,000 kilometers. Obviously, hypersonic Zircon 3M22, it has a range of 1,500 plus kilometers. 1,500 plus kilometers, that means even carrier battle groups with all of its sensors, including the E-2 Hawkeye and, in the air on the furthest line of where they can fly and do the patrol, it's still twice shorter than the range of Zircon. So that means, they will not see it. They just, something will fly in, they cannot intercept it. They still, of course, we know Ukrainians are really good at intercepting hypersonics. I'm pretty sure many of those who survive, Ukrainian air defense officers, will be invited to teach in military academies and war colleges in the United States, and they will definitely transfer their wonderful experience how to use PAC-3 while shooting down Kinzhal or Zircon. So Oreshnik probably, they make no mistake. If Russians use Oreshnik next time, you can bet your whatever, the Ukrainians and US media will come up and say that, they intercepted most of them. So, yeah, but that's the reality of it. The United States Navy, for all of its magnificent history and all of its magnificent, glorious, the past and some technological advancements and cutting-edge technologies, especially in terms of the things like, the net centricity of the fleet, cooperative engagement capability, which, by the way, Russians also have. But the point is, United States Navy, in this respect, and in terms of the battle management, was always kind of on the front. It was very advanced, but it started to fall back. because of the completely false doctrine, this carrier-centric Navy, which is completely destabilized by the presence of all those mastodons which you need to defend and which cannot deliver. Well, you saw yourself, those poor Houthis who are still residing, I don't know, 15th century, I don't know. Man, and having this primitive technology, so they created a lot of, well, that's not to say that some of those the old like P-15 missile, it's from 1950s, okay? This is what the first missile which sunk Eilat, Israeli destroyer during the Israeli-Arab War in 1967. So you can imagine this is old, okay? So, but even that, they have been able to shoot down some of them, but evidently even the operations by Houthis already pushed the carrier battle group deep into the sea, away from the rather short range, Houthis missiles. When you deal with something like Zircon or Kinjal, it doesn't matter. You could be in the middle of Pacific if you look attentively, and some MiG-31K with Kinjal, or maybe 3 or 4 of them from Yelizovo airstrip, which is the city of Yelizovo, where there's the civilian wonderful new airport now. Before that, it was really kind of junky. The airport which serves Petropavlovsk-Kamchatsky and all Kamchatka. So, but if you have 3, 4 of them flying, obviously they will be warned. But the problem with this is just that Kinjal has the range itself without the MiG-31, which can accelerate to Mach 2.5 easily for create a long range for Kinjal. It's 2,000 kilometers. So take give and take 500 kilometers for MiG-31s accelerating, then releasing, and 2,000. So 2,500 from the shoreline of Kamchatka, for example. They're not going to stop it. They may not even see it. Okay, most likely they will not see it, as we already saw the pattern of how the radar of PAC-3 reacts. They see incoming only in the last moment. That is why they begin to shoot anything towards direction, but doesn't matter. They don't have firing solution. It's not going to be different, for example, in the ocean or in the sea. And so, yeah, we have this situation, and as a result, it's a magnificent navy. It still is a magnificent navy. It is one of the best submarine forces. I mean, you have to give it, credit where the credit is due. Virginia's are wonderful. They're wonderful submarines, except for this snafu with the steel, with the lady who faked all those test results. And suddenly they don't know if they can really dive to that, maximum depth. And that was happened here in Tacoma, no less. This was this laboratory which was doing the testing for Navy. And then it turned out, she was faking. That all, samples were passing. Like,
I have a question. I know that Russia has to maintain a relationship with Israel, that a lot of Israelis are Russians, that they have to issue all kinds of visas and all kinds of things, right? What are your thoughts if you've been following it? So there was reports that the Israeli ambassador, I believe, I may have messed it up, to Ukraine, said, okay, we're sending them Patriots, and now the Israelis are trying to deny it, but I think they're sending them Patriots. But your thoughts on how Russia sees that? So not that Patriots are something that Russia's going to, be rolling over all night, losing sleep, that there's a new Patriot. I mean, that's just a nice, fat, fresh target. But your thoughts on that?
Well, it was very simple. Russian Foreign Ministry and Maria Zakharova specifically, she went on the record in media and she said this Mr. Brodsky, the ambassador, Israel ambassador in Ukraine, says a lot of things, during his tenure there, and her essentially the thrust of her argument was where there's the smoke, there is a fire, essentially. And yes, it was plausible deniability. It's very simple. United States and Israel are essentially, joined at the hip with the United, So, and in this case, it's so simple. Okay, we have 30 years old PAC-3s. Okay, what do we do? Oh, let's go and let's return them back to the United States. Sure. What the United States does? Oh, yeah, we got those things. We need to refurbish or, conserve them. But we give it to Ukraine. Israel, plausible deniability. Oh, we didn't know that it was going to Ukraine. Sure, you know what? It's the game, and yes, as many people noted, and actually I speak about this in my books nonstop and in the blog, and actually you can go also to Dmitry Orlov, excellent comments on this. United States is a very litigious society, you know. They pretend that if they did something per some kind of procedure, that everybody is stupid and say, oh yeah, they have the document which proves that, you know. So, but reality is obviously Russians know that they put at least some of them in Ukraine. And Larry Wilkerson, yesterday, I believe, he gave interview to RT. He's telling Mossad is all over the place. Israelis are actually afraid like hell of what could be. I mean, they think that the experience of this special military operation applies to them. It really does not. Plus, you know, the Israeli army is not what it's, you know, people try to portray. It's not that good of an army, and it's not. We know the air defense sucks big time. I mean, it's just so. And yeah, everything is primarily PR and propaganda, but they are terrified, no doubt about it, of what they see when the war goes into the full-blown, actually, you know, operations. And they saw themselves that all those air defense complexes which they had, which was proven by Iran on a couple of occasions, and now they see how those guys fail, I mean, every day, and they lose them constantly, you know. It comes down to basically what many people do not understand. Do they still have Patriots factory? They do. What do? They hide launchers inside their apartment blocks, you know, those, and they move them as much as they can to distribute as much as the length of the cables and, you know, allows them. But it's always hidden in such a way that it can operate out of ambush. But what they do also, and that is why there is another problem, and they cannot overcome it. And this is actually purely American shtick. They tried to integrate their radar with the radar of the civilian aircraft. So not aircraft, the towers, you know, essentially the whatever the airports they have in Dnipropetrovsk or Kyiv, obviously, and all. But while it gives them a little bit of warning, reality is it's not that good in terms of the IFF interrogation Friend 4. That's why they shut down 2 of F-16s, because they couldn't recognize them. And secondly, it's well, it's still useless if you're dealing with the which you saw yourself in the last several days. This is just wave after wave. Yesterday, just geraniums alone, 479. Apart from X-101s, Russia can easily, which it does already now, easily use up to 500 geraniums a day, per day, those, yeah, for many, many years. So, well, probably by the time it goes a little further down the road, they probably will be able to use whatever, 600 maybe, you know, so a day. And this is what is happening. And that is why those people, so-called, you know, specialists and experts, they still cannot comprehend what is happening around them, because they're simply not properly taught to see the military technological reality and the real economy. And yesterday, sorry, 479 or 497, I don't remember. So it's close to 500. So Russia can do it every day. And, you know, remember, Russia should have run out of missiles, about 3 years ago? Boy, she's running ever since, you know, running out ever since.
Well, let me ask you this too. When we think of the geraniums, I remember when they first started, and they seemed to be very similar to the Iranian drones. And I remember reading and hearing things about them, and it sounded like a little 2-cycle, and they were kind of small, and they come in and boom. My understanding now is that they have ones with that. That's not what they say geraniums. It's not this little toy thing going boom anymore. That they've gotten much larger. They carry heavier payloads. They have now jet engines on some of them.
There are some jet propulsion on some of geraniums. And do not forget, there is another nasty thing. You cannot even properly identify it as a class of the weapon. It's called banderol. Banderol is essentially small parcel sent over, not large one, but small. You can like put the, I don't know, the box with the perfume, or send the gift, something like, not very large. It's called banderol in Russian, which is small parcel. That thing is, and people already saw it. It's really bizarre. It flies with 500 kilometers per hour, which already pretty fast. It's not something outstanding, but fast. But this thing is kind of stealthy, and it has the range of up 1,000 kilometers. And so, and Russians produce it and they already were using this. I mean, devastating thing, absolutely.
Do you know how they're? Do you know how they're launched? If they're ground launchers, or they launch? How are they?
Yeah, they're ground launched. Yeah, they're ground launched. The regular thing, and they fly. They have a jet engine, I understand, from what I remember. So there are all kinds of things, coming online. Well, if not every day, then every week for sure. It's just like, oh my God, they have this. It's like, pardon me, I caught some kind of bug, and it is like the situation with Armata. Well, I mean, Mr. Chemezov, the CEO of Rostec, and this is giant. It's 700,000 people employed by this colossal conglomerate. It's literally a Russian technologist and produces anything from aircraft to, so it's gigantic. And so he suddenly comes out yesterday and says, yeah, T-14 Armata performed beautifully. It's like, oh yeah, remember they say Armata sucks. They cannot know it is a wonderful tank, and we already put some in, updates and upgrades. This is the future of the tank warfare. So yeah, there you go. But obviously, it's not reported in the essentially media, because, as you understand, yeah, it has to be told that geraniums are shaheeds. No, they are not. It's just the similar aerodynamic solution as Tu-144 supersonic jet looked like a Concorde. By the way, Tu-144, while failure and as the passenger plane, it flew much earlier than Concorde, and they looked very similar. Well, yeah, because it is the common sense aerodynamic solution for the supersonic passenger plane. And it's like, yeah, that's why it's like the car. Most cars, they look very much the same. Now, there could be different, something, but it's what? Engine, four wheels, I mean, basic things, which is common. You cannot go, except for if you're some, idiot and buy Bugatti, and then blow it in the next 5 minutes after you bought it. So, but other than that, they're very similar. This is exactly what it is. And, but yeah, the speculations, it is all propaganda to, show that Russians are not very good at anything, so, but it fails time after time after time. You have all those so-called experts who are not experts, really, who are just some kind of, oh gosh, I don't even know how to name it properly. And they do not understand what they're talking about. They do not understand. You do not talk just about technological gizmo or gadget, which is important, extremely important, make no mistake, absolutely. It's a foundation of stable organization and equipment, but you need to have to look at the operational level, not a tactical. It is what I'm saying constantly. The victories are won on operational strategic levels. On tactical level, you can lose brigade, but you still will have won the war. But you cannot explain this to people. Yeah, well, Russians also get killed, obviously on a much, much smaller scale than what is happening, which is a slaughter there. And it will continue. It's a bad hurt. It's being sore loser. They need to constantly keep Trump in this fairy tale. Just yesterday, you remember, he said 51 million Russians. Why not 65? Hey, dude, I mean, do you know what math is? And I don't even know where they got those numbers from. They got from Solzhenitsyn. They got from the Goebbelsonian collaborator, so-called Professor Kurganov. So who was the chief editor of the Goebbelsonian Nazi paper on the occupied territories in the Soviet Union. So yeah, why don't you go and, mathematics doesn't say it. It means that I couldn't have been born. My wife wasn't born. That means what? You lost third of the population, mostly men. What's going to happen? No.
We'll find out with Ukraine. We'll find out what's going to happen with Ukraine when they lose all of the men. Yeah. We're about to find that out in Ukraine.
Comes out with this garbage, which is presented to him by some, dumbasses like himself. He's turned into that doofus, essentially. That's who he is. And you look at this and like, good Lord, we just finally,
Let me ask you this. And it's something that I suspected anyway. I've been saying for a while, I do not believe the United States is going to attack Iran for a number of reasons, starting with what happened with the Houthis. But here's the other side of it. Something else implied something that I already suspected. When the India and the skirmish was, people said it was a skirmish between India and Pakistan, a skirmish with a lot of public relations stuff on both sides of who had, that was the big, who shot what down with who and what weapons worked and all of that stuff, which we don't know how much of it was true, but there was a lot of PR. Here's the bottom line. Very early, one of the things Pakistan said was, we can't sustain a long war because we sent all of our stuff to Ukraine. I believe that. And it told me something. The United States, not just NATO, has been demilitarized. All of the U.S. and Britain's vassals and puppets, all of them have been cleaned out, which tells me something else. And Donald Trump kind of gave a hint within the last day or so. They were asking him something, and he said, he says, well, our stores of weapons are kind of low, and our cupboards are kind of bad, but we're going to get that right. And I thought to myself, it's just what I thought. The United States is, I believe, out of just about everything. And maybe one of the reasons that they left the Red Sea, one of many, was they're shooting themselves out of missiles, shooting themselves. I think the United States is like, if it was a gas needle, it's smashing the bottom of E when it comes to our military stuff. I think we've been cleaned out in Ukraine.
Well, just to give you an example, most of the Bradleys, and there were hundreds of them, which were sent to the front, hundreds. Practically all of them have been annihilated. They hide 5 remaining, they literally hide them, 5 remaining Abrams tanks. Some Paladins, majority of Paladins have been wiped out. And so you go through this whole, again, in terms of, we don't know, tens, dozens upon dozens of Patriots have been also basically destroyed. Now, but the point is, United States doesn't even have the production plant to produce tanks. It cannot. It just simply cannot. Not only they don't have the materials, the resources, they don't have the cadres which know how to build decent tank. Abrams is not a decent tank. I mean, it's the tank. It could do some job and could do the damage, which it does. But in terms of the modern battlefield, it's just absolutely, defenseless essentially. And that is why they're hiding the last 5 remaining. The same as I don't know how many Paladins, those self-propelled guns, American guns, are left, but you are absolutely correct. Most likely, what is called the untouchable stores, they went into untouchable stores and continue to provide this until, well, we can only sit and speculate to what degree United States is, scraping the bottom of the barrel in this respect. But many high-end systems are gone. And they are not easy to replace. And especially when you have to use how Ukraine uses this, for example, the missiles for Patriots, they just shoot at things, hoping to hit something. So they ran out of them too. And so the United States is now desperate to get something there. But they were demilitarized, and simple as that.
I think they've got another problem also. And, it's something I've been saying. I'm sure the Chinese don't listen to me, but, this isn't hard to figure out. And I figure this, the U.S. has been, we're going to go to war with China in 2027. We're going to attack China. We got to go to war with China. Pete Hegseth comes out, we're ready for China and we're going to let them have it. And the war with China is imminent. And China just did what I've been saying for a long while. If I'm selling you magnets and rare earth minerals, and you're telling me, I'm going to use those to build missiles to attack you with, I'm not selling them to you anymore. Bottom line, China is not selling them to the U.S. So not only is the U.S. covered bare, the U.S., we can't even make, very soon will not be able to make vehicles or anything without these. And if I'll be honest, I know Trump's trying to negotiate with them. He's trying to get them. If I'm China, I'm not selling them to you at any cost. I'm not negotiating with them. I'm going to say, no, you told me you're going to war with me. How stupid do you think I am? I'm going to sell you a knife so you can shove it in my gut. I don't think so.
Yeah, I think so. And especially if we look at the dynamics of the trade, Chinese trade, it has been shifting dramatically, especially in the last 5 years at least, to the Asian markets. And now Asian markets occupy much larger share of the Chinese trade than it is with the whole United States and Europe. Albeit Chinese, for some, they still think that somehow they can, have Europe as market. I don't think so, but okay, they know better than me in this respect. So, but the point is, it's 1.6 to 2 times larger now with Vietnam, Indonesia, Malaysia, South Korea, even, and the fact that they had this meeting of those 3 giants, South Korea, China, and Japan recently. That's a red flag for the United States. This is a red flag. Japanese, who do not have any resources really, and literally depend on the essentially deliveries of just about anything, they are dependent on China. And they know that there are those juicy, wonderful, resources Russians develop in the Far East and on the North. And they want that really badly. United States cannot give it to them. And so that's what we have, those things. But they are slower process, but they are no less dramatic than, for example, God forbid, something happens and some American ship is sunk or China takes Taiwan or something like that. Chinese do not want to fight. They really are primarily commercial nation. They prefer to settle things. I scratch your back, you scratch mine, in the Chinese way, obviously, because they want to be winners, obviously. But I mean, that's what it is. And yeah, United States, Trump produced so much hot air in the last 5 months, and he damaged American standing in the world so much, especially when he tried to play this stupidest game of listening to these amateurs, American generals who never won a thing in their life. They do not know what modern operational art is. They don't understand strategy. None of them does. Patriots, give me a break, So, and when you have these people and they, they advise you, what do you expect? You expect what it is, what is happening right now. And he could have gotten United States, at least some on the way to some kind of recovery. Now, the window with Russians are closed, and Russians actually, Medvedev and Manturov went on record yesterday, first vice premier, that no, we're not allowed those companies that left, just that not only easy, just not allowing anymore, period. They're not coming back. Simple as that.
Well, another thing that's interesting, I had a guest from Africa, Nigerian guest, and he was talking about RT in Russia, how popular it's getting. And he was talking about some of the most popular African scholars and philosophers, Plo Lumumba and different people like that, who now have shows on RT. I think one of the other things that has happened too is that while the West, Russia's Russian propaganda, etc., but the more global South countries, Russia has greatly expanded in Africa, and it seems to me that Russia's African presence has greatly grown. And I think that's going to be a very powerful influence for the future, because Africa, there's a very bright future for Africa. A lot of young people, a lot of room for expansion, etc. Your thoughts on you have any thoughts on Russia, Africa? And again, Russia really seems to be putting a major focus on its relationship with Africa.
Yeah, there is a Russian African command. Anybody who says that it's Wagner, it's not Wagner. They can forget about Wagner. It was the organized criminal group. No, it's the Russian African Command. It is headed by Mr. Surovikin. And boy, it was wiping out very many of those remnants of French. You can, in my Telegram channel, there's a wonderful video of Russian helicopters, crocodiles hunting all kinds of the, scam of the earth, terrorists and all kinds of that. So, and yeah, we know that the French suffer greatly. They are humiliated there. And that will continue. And we'll see what's going to happen with Libya, which is basically a diamond in the rough now, with the enormous, obviously, resources and reserves of oil and other things like that. So, but yeah, Russia is there and it's expanding. And even the fact that Egyptian president came to the victory parade, it's kind of like, okay, that's good. Yeah, sure. Why not? That tells you actually that they want to express it this way. But of course, you have now this bright guy from, good Lord, not Cote d'Ivoire.
Burkina Faso.
Burkina Faso, yeah. Yes. And he is going to be helped. And the fact how he arrived to Moscow, presidential plane of Russian president picked him up and flew him to Moscow. You can see it. It's mind-boggling. So that is the message that's our guy. And the guy wants to, and I mean, I love this video about him when he started trying to, repair this highway, which hasn't been repaired in Burkina Faso for years. And everybody, contractors come to him like, price gouging and all that stuff. So he says, screw you. He went out, bought all equipment, a lot of it, from bulldozers to road machinery. So he brought it back, got his people to work on this, and guess what? So it's working now. And this is how you do it. You want to kind of, screw with me, screw you, and that's how he does it. And yeah, I mean, it's a very interesting development. And could he be this critical, very important African figure? Absolutely. Absolutely. Again, who sent Patrice Lumumba, God bless his soul, he never flew on Soviet, General Secretary IL-62. No, he never. But this guy, he had his IL-96, which is essentially Russian Air Force One, arriving, picking him up with these people and flying him for the parade in Moscow. This is, I mean, unbelievable. This is like into your face. You touch this guy, you're going to have a lot of trouble. So, and Russians are already entrenched in Africa. And again, Africans are on the record for many years, and they correctly state, and which is absolutely true. Not their problems with African society, notwithstanding the problems, and there are plenty of problems, obviously, including not least through the obviously tribal culture. But they said the only people in the world who come to us and say, and they talk to us as equal. They say, okay, guys, what do you want? What can we do this? And they send people to study in the universities and things of this nature. And it's like, that's the only people. Of course, we respect them. And that's what it is, because Russians respect the African people. They come there and say, guys, how we can improve, and to the mutual benefit. And that's what happens. It was Anwar Sadat who betrayed, for example, Soviet trust in Egypt, who was, of course, who was assassinated after that, so, but what, and it wasn't really Soviets or something. He was assassinated by the radical Islamists there. And so, but yeah, you want now this message, which is unprecedented, we got with this guy, and it's just unbelievable. I was like absolutely stunned when and I like how he came in with his, fatigues and all that, so, and wonderful man, actually. I like the guy very much.
Yeah, I have a Nigerian actor that I have on weekly to talk about him, and I mean the African people are so proud of him, and they see him, and what's happening now, and in listening to the various Africans that I interview, they see the Russians as a way. I'll put it like this: there's a history here, because the Soviet Union was in Africa. The Soviet Union was providing, was Angola, South Africa, etc., and South America. The Soviet Union was providing weapons and logistics in Africa for many, many decades ago. And there's a history, but there is mutual benefit here for the Russians, a great benefit for the Russians and a great benefit for the Africans. And the Africans now actually basically see a number of things, not the least of which being that the U.S. is weak, that of all people, the French and the British are even weaker, and that they have an opportunity now with all of the natural resources and all of the young people, the labor. It
is all about resources. Yeah, Africa is insanely rich. It is just almost ridiculous how rich it is. And so obviously those who get there, but again, you can do it as Germans did in Namibia. They just came in the 19th century, executed 80,000 Namibians, just because they wanted to. I mean, this is not to say that, for example, Windhoek is not, it's a lovely city, actually, very lovely. It has this, there are other things which obviously look at the German, and doesn't mean that everything was completely, wasted there, but primarily, extraction of the profits, and very little was left for those people, and they were used essentially as slaves, economic and slavery. And so Russians come in, they say, let's negotiate the contract. We get this, you get this, and we'll then work this. And, so they built this infrastructure, not only economic, like tangible infrastructure, that judicial too. And there's always was there in my Naval Academy. We had a separate faculty, which is called department. We were separated. I was the Soviet department's navigators and chemical defense, which is the whole other story. And obviously those, and they had that not only Arab countries, but they had the whole thing, which were African countries. There were people from Angola. There are many people in, for example, militaries, and including former, they are older now, in African militaries who graduated my Naval Academy. They used to be the chiefs of staffs of their navies, what have you. So, that's what is happening. And it's going to continue to happen. And when he comes, good Lord, I forgot his name. It's unbelievable. So he comes and he tells Putin, we don't need money. Everybody wants money from you.
Ibrahim Traore.
Ibrahim Traore, yeah. And he said, we know you expect us to ask for money. No, give us knowledge. So, okay, Russians will give you knowledge.
So. Yeah. The last thing I'd like, so your thoughts on, before we go, the last question, in the event that there is a response, a retaliation, what would you think that we'd be looking at from Russia for the, in relative to the terrorist attack, etc.?
I mean, they will try now to extricate all those criminals from GUR, like Budanov, and again, the security details of this, which is primarily British, but there is, again, Lavrov stated those buildings are packed with CIA personnel. They will be killed if they don't run. And even some of them, maybe Zelensky will be killed. I don't know about this, but Russia has enough power to break through the earth crust and reach any kind of bunker. And as I already stated, Russians know where those bunkers are. You know why? Because Kiev was the seat of the, huge military district in Soviet Ukraine. And these were Russians and Soviet Ukrainians who were building that. The Russians know every single nook and cranny there, and So, and what can they do? Can they dig deeper? Well, okay, sure, let them dig deeper, but it's not very difficult to completely seal off any kind of entrance, and it will be over. And you will not be able to do anything about it. They will just die from starvation of eating each other, or will die from the lack of oxygen and things like that. It's very simple. It's not very difficult to do. And these bunkers, they have been designed for primarily air blast, nuclear blast, as was, for example, Yuzhmash, which we still do not see. What happened to it? Nobody wants to show. And this was designed for that, and to mitigate those active factors of the nuclear explosion. Of course, the flash, all kinds of the shock wave and things like that. And of course, they had those filters which have been installed in all those, things to basically protect people who are inside from, contamination, radiation, and all kinds of nasty stuff which come with nuclear blast. This is not how it works anymore. You can launch, Rezhnik would say, say, just to give you an example, let's put 2-kiloton warhead. That thing will penetrate first about 50, 60 meters inside, and then it will explode. There will be no contamination. There will be obviously, they use nuclear weapons. Russians don't need to use nuclear weapons either. You can simply, literally, send one Oreshnik after another, one Kinzhal after another, which will break through that, and they all will be dead. There is nowhere to run for them, as it is for political elites in NATO. Their names are known, their addresses are known. I mean, you think Russians do not know who those people from MI6 are and where do they live, who their families are? They are pretty much well researched and well reckoned. So, and they better run, because I mean, it's coming. But in the end, it's not even about this gesture or two. It's already, we see the operational tempo increase, and that is all about basically removing physically Zelensky regime and all his curators from the West who supported this atrocity. And what can I say? Russia has tools. They don't.
Andrei Martyanov, he has his great blog, Reminiscence of the Future. He has his great YouTube show, Smoothie X12. So make sure that you visit both of them regularly. He has Patreon. He has Buy Me a Coffee. There's a lot of ways you can support Andrei and keep his good work going. So, Andrei, I certainly thank you very much for
My pleasure.
on. Everybody, don't forget, follow me on Rockfin, follow me on Rumble, follow me on Telegram, all that kind of stuff. I've got I have a P.O. box if you want to send me something, snail mail, and you see everything going across the bottom. Thank you very much. Certainly appreciate it. Andrei, we'll talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
Thank you all. Don't forget, everybody, share this on all your social media platforms.